Okay, forget everything you remember about dusty blackboards and textbooks. Today, we're digging into the real story of mathematics. A time when it wasn't some abstract subject, but an essential tool for survival, for building empires, and, well, for making sense of a pretty chaotic world.
So when you think of math, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably algebra class, right? Just a bunch of complex equations floating around in a void. But what if I told you that for the people who actually invented it, math was anything but abstract?
For them, math was this hands-on, practical, and absolutely critical tool. You could almost call it the original life hack, born from the urgent needs of the world's first great civilizations. This was math from the mud. And our story, well, it begins in the land between two rivers.
All right, our first stop is Mesopotamia, the famous land nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This is the cradle where cities, empires, and even bureaucracy were born. And with all that came a whole new set of problems that demanded a totally revolutionary way of thinking.
Just think about it for a second. How do you manage a massive, sprawling empire? You've got to track grain shipments, collect taxes from thousands of people, pay soldiers, and build these enormous structures like ziggurats. You basically need a powerful operating system to run your entire society. And for the Sumerians and Babylonians, that operating system was mathematics.
So their solution to all these massive challenges was something called the sexagesimal system. Now, instead of counting in tens like we do, the decimal system, they counted in 60s. It sounds kind of strange at first, I know, but it was an incredibly clever system that, believe it or not, we still use every single day.
60.
Does that number ring a bell? It absolutely should. This is their brilliant legacy, alive and well. 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 360 degrees in a circle. That's just 60 times 6. Every time you check the time, you are literally using Mesopotamian math. It's a system so good, so effective, we've kept it for thousands of years.
But get this, they didn't just stop at counting. The Babylonians were absolute masters of algebra. They were solving complex quadratic equations long before the Greeks ever got around to it. And this wasn't just for show. It was essential for things like calculating the areas and volumes they needed to build their monumental cities and their really sophisticated irrigation systems.
Now let's travel a bit south, to a different land with a completely different set of problems. Welcome to ancient Egypt, a civilization that was defined not by two rivers, but by one single mighty force of nature, the Nile.
I want you to really imagine this. Every single year, without fail, a massive flood just wipes your entire world clean. Now, it deposits fertile soil, which is great for farming, but it also completely erases every single property line, every farm boundary, every landmark. How on earth do you rebuild society from scratch year after year?
Well, you do it with math. For the Egyptians, geometry wasn't some abstract study of shapes. No way. It was their annual instruction manual for putting their world back together again. Special surveyors, who they actually called rope stretchers, would use these geometric principles to precisely reestablish all the land boundaries, making sure social order was kept and, of course, that taxes could be collected fairly.
So here's the crucial point. It's how their unique environments shaped their math. Mesopotamia, which was focused on complex administration for a huge empire, developed that base 60 system and abstract algebra. Meanwhile, Egypt, facing this very physical problem of land division, perfected a base 10 system and a very practical geometry. Two completely different problems, two totally brilliant mathematical solutions.
But what happened when the Egyptians ran into problems they couldn't easily visualize or draw out? For those tricky algebra questions, they came up with this incredibly clever and intuitive technique called the method of false position.
It's basically a really smart way of guessing and correcting. You'd start with an easy, convenient guess, check how wrong you are, and then use that error, the proportion of how wrong you are, to calculate the real answer. It's a beautifully simple and powerful workaround that shows they had this deep, intuitive understanding of proportionality. And their geometric skill went way beyond just redrawing farm plots. It's earned them the awe of modern historians, who look at their achievements and just see this incredible feat of geometric understanding.
You want the ultimate proof of their genius? They developed a perfectly accurate formula for calculating the volume of a truncated pyramid. That's a pyramid with the top sliced clean off. This is a remarkably complex calculation, and getting it right was absolutely essential for planning and building those timeless monuments that, still stand today.
So as we start to wrap things up, it's pretty clear that these ancient mathematical systems aren't just some historical footnotes. They are the foundational code that's running silently in the background of our modern world.
So let's just recap what we've inherited. From Mesopotamia, we get the base 60 system that governs all of our clocks and our compasses, a direct legacy of their strength in abstract algebra for running an empire. And from Egypt, we inherited a foundation in practical geometry that is still fundamental to all of engineering and surveying today, a direct result of their need to tame the Nile.
The next time you look at a clock or you marvel at a skyscraper, just remember this. Mathematics wasn't invented by scholars in some ivory tower. It was forged by farmers and builders and tax collectors, real people who needed to solve real, messy, and urgent problems.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other parts of our daily lives, things we just totally take for granted, are actually built on the accidental genius of the ancients?